This morning we have a subject that I think is of more or less vital importance in these times. But we have to begin by going back to one of the earliest concepts that we have in the world of science, and that is the transmutation of metals. We do not know where alchemy, as we call it today, originated, but the present word is derived from two comparatively recent terms, the word chemistry and the ancient Hebrew and Greek and Egyptian syllable El. Alchemy. El is a name of deity, Elohim, and many others. Therefore, the term alchemy means divine chemistry. It means something entirely different from the concept or idea of a materialistic transmutation of metals. But very early in China, even in India, later in Japan, in many parts of the European continent, chemists arose laboring with the concept of the transmutation of actual physical substances. Today, science does this every day, and from the beginning of time, nature did it every moment. Actually, to deny that it is possible to transmute or transform a substance is not scientifically sound. Every moment, transmutation is going on around us and within us. The whole system of digestion, the nutritional problem faced by every living creature, is a fine example of basic alchemy, a divine process of transforming substances until they serve the various utilities which are necessary for survival. Paracelsus von Hohenheim was a physician for the family of the Fuggers in Germany. They were the great mining family, with mines all over Europe. He was the doctor in charge of the possible accidents and sicknesses that afflicted the workmen. While there, he experimented and wrote considerably on the subject of alchemy. He pointed out, for example, that in the area where the various metals were mined for the Fuggers, grape orchards and vineyards stood on the outer surface, on the surface of the earth, beneath which these mines were located. Those mines which were involved with gold had a peculiar circumstance involved in them. If you took the grapevines that grew on the surface and burned them, you would find gold. In other words, the roots of the plants were picking it out of the earth also. Years ago, we had a character here in Los Angeles who has gone to his blessed reward, who was an alchemist. And naturally enough, for an alchemist who had to make a living, he had a cheese factory, which, by the way, if you study it carefully enough, is part of our story. But no one thinks that far. But this alchemist one day showed me a little glass retort about an inch and a half tall, about less than the size of a pullet egg. But in this was a little rock, and on the rock was a tiny flare of gold. It looked under a strong glass like a little flower, but it was actually gold growing in an hermetically sealed vessel. I tried to get the right to keep this as a preservation or as a proof of something, but I was never able to get it away from him. But anyway, he insisted that this little gold tree or little gold thread-like vine, a leaf, a fern leaf-like thing, had actually grown in this bottle from the rock upon which it was still attached. That actually gold grows. Von Hohenheim also stated this, that areas where mining had exhausted all known gold supplies, 100 years later, gold was found again. In some way, gold continued to reproduce itself from a kind of seed. So gold gradually came to be a symbol, and it was as a symbol that it was of most interest to the mystical alchemists of the 16th and 17th centuries. To them, gold was simply a symbol of the human soul and the divine soul. Gold to them was a spiritual agent. It was a symbol of what man is as a mortal creature, and how this mortal creature can be transformed into a divine, enlightened power. Gold in alchemy in the 17th and 18th century was a synonym for soul. It was that part of man's nature which combined the elements which we find today symbolically in the symbol of Mercury. The ancient system or triad for the production of gold was salt, sulfur, and mercury. Salt being a symbol of body, sulfur being a symbol of spirit, and mercury being a symbol of the binder or the uniting substance, that which was capable of transmuting one into another. Therefore, the human being, in a sense, is spirit, soul, and body. The spirit as belonging to eternity, the body belonging to the earth and matter, and Mercury a mysterious symbol to the combination or union of heaven and earth in the transmutation of life from a divided substance to a united essence. This type of thinking was the problem of almost all of ancient philosophy. Paracelsus and others warned the alchemists not to center their attention upon the transmutation of metals, but, as von Welling tells us in one of his alchemical writings, that which is true on a spiritual level must also be true on all other levels. And if it is possible to transform mortality to immortality in man, it is also possible in nature, it is possible in all the kingdoms of life, and it is possible of all the substances which make up the created universe. So Paracelsus did not deny the transmutation of metals, but warned that the acceptance of this as the primary factor in alchemy was a mistake, and that as a result of this mistake, most alchemists failed, because they failed first of all to set up the transmutation within themselves, by means of which the true understanding of the mystery could be developed within their own consciousness. In other words, as another alchemist said, there are seeds of life in everything. In India and China and Japan, these are called the Buddha seeds. They are the seeds of all essences and substances. All things grow from their own seed, root, or cause. And the cause of immortality is in every created mortal creature. The seed of immortality is in man. The seed of all knowledge is within the human being. The seed of all hope and of all life and of all wisdom and all understanding, all these are locked within the individual. And they must grow as plants grow. They must gradually overcome the resistance of ignorance. They must day by day and year by year spread their life in all ways. The tree of wisdom grows from the human mind. The tree of love comes from the human heart. The tree of God comes from the eternal seed within the consciousness of the human being. So all of alchemy was primarily a release or a revelation, a transmutation of ignorance into wisdom, a transmutation of death into life everlasting, a transmutation of ignorance into wisdom. And all this was done by a very elaborate process. The secrets of transmutation are beautifully and symbolically set forth in a number of works. Many chemists were deceived by the terms, however, and felt that the formulas were purely physical, but they were not.